So I've been warning you about all these influencers that are promising you $10,000 a month or saying I made or I did $100,000 a month. Well, what if you really started making that money? This is what I would do. First, let's take care of the legal. The first thing I would do is choose an entity. Are you going to be a sole prop, which means you're not an LLC at all? You just use your 1040, you report your income and losses at the end of the year. Or are you going to opt for the LLC? Are you going to be an LLC taxed as an S Corp, C Corp, partnership, PLLC, all the rest? And so the next thing you're going to have to do is register that business. So you want to check at the county level that you live in, what registration you have to do. And also, of course, you want to be at the state level. And then when we talk about federal, you have to get an EIN number. It's free. You get it from the IRS. You can do it online. You don't even have to call in, which is a super bonus right now. And then the last thing is you might need a state tax ID. If you have employees, you're going to need to set up payroll. And then if you sell, anything where you're collecting sales tax, you're going to need a state tax ID. So then you have the financial piece. And of course, that means business bank account. Now, if I'm starting a business, I want to make sure that my personal expenses is separate from my business expenses. You know why? Because at the end of the year, you want to make it so much easier to parse through all of those transactions and make sure you get those deductions, which we're going to talk about in a second. So you want to make sure you set up that bank account, preferably with your EIN number, not your social security number. And then also you want a business credit card so you can track all those expenses. And then lastly, you'll probably need some kind of insurance. You might need E&O insurance, workers' comp, cybersecurity, any type of insurance. You want to think about those expenses. Now, of course, we have to talk about the accounting. So one majorly important thing that I would do starting a business and that everybody needs to do is make sure you set up good bookkeeping. And I know bookkeeping sounds so boring, but what it is, it's really you just tracking the journey of the dollars that go in the business and out of the business. And most importantly, I know everybody loves those deductions. Let me tell you, by the time you get to December, you're going to forget the little coffees that you had with people, that small trip that you made, maybe it wasn't out of state, all these different things. You want to make sure that you're tracking every single thing. I know I would focus on that. And you know what? While you're at it, as the business gets more complicated, if you really expect that you're going to start making $10,000 a month or you're going to do $100,000 a month, you better invest in a good bookkeeper. Let me tell you. And the thing is, back to the deductions, if you're not deducting things, then you're leaving money on the table. And I've seen it a million times. And then, of course, we have compliance. And I am former IRS. So I really want to emphasize this one. If you're getting into these small business side hustles, you're probably going to be a 1099 or just self employed. You're making business income, then you are a business and you are required to make quarterly estimated tax payments. And so you're going to want to figure out, how do I even do that? Do I need to do that? Was I profitable this quarter? And let me tell you, September 15th is coming up. So you need to figure that out sooner rather than later. And fun fact, if you ever get in trouble with the IRS, sometimes they won't even look at your offer. If you want to do an offer in compromise, or if you want to do a payment plan, sometimes they look at if you have been paying your estimated tax payments as part of compliance. People only think about, did they file a tax return? Well, that's not it. So you want to pay attention to that. If you have employees, you're going to have to be filing quarterly, which your payroll service should be doing. And that's another thing. You got to get a payroll service. And then also you have your annual returns. So if you're one of those sole props, you could just do the 1040 and focus on that. But if you elect into something else, you want to do a partnership, that's going to be a partnership return. You want to do a S Corp, a C Corp. Those are extra returns. And then you have K1s, and it gets complicated from there. So one thing I would do, if I was getting into this, I would definitely get a tax professional to do my business returns at least. Do not try to DIY this. Okay, so let's go ahead and summarize. If I were taking advantage of one of these many promotions online, promising that I'm going to make $10,000 a month, etc., and then I started to see a little bit of money coming in and I realized this is serious, I would definitely choose my entity because that's going to decide how you get taxed. And then I would make sure I register that at the local and the state level. I would get myself an EIN with the IRS, and then I would start a business bank account. And if I can, get a business credit card. And then I would make sure that my bookkeeping and record keeping is accurate, and I consistently do it throughout the year so that I could make sure I'm tracking my income and expenses and make sure I'm maximizing my deductions because that's what this is all about, right? And then lastly, I would make sure I stay on top of my quarterly and my annual filings. I hope that was helpful. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more tips.